What's up everyone? For those of you who are new here, my name is Ariana and I do content on film photography, Olympus, and Fuji gear as well. So obviously today's video is going to be on the Olympus OM-10, which is a film camera. But before I get into the video itself, there are a few things that I wanted to touch upon real quick. The first is that we officially hit 1,000 subscribers, which is so awesome. So I appreciate everyone who has actually subscribed to my channel. If you haven't already and you enjoy my content, please do. It is super cool to see this community start building up. And number two is the fact that I am, at least as of right now, going to be dropping down to only one video a week. So previously I had been posting 2 videos a week and it's just a pretty heavy time commitment, in addition to the fact that it is hard to just think of a lot of creative sit down video content, and life has been a little bit crazy lately, so I haven't been able to get out and really shoot as much, which of course is something that I want to change in the near future. So as of right now, I will be dropping down to 1 video a week and hopefully at least sticking to that. That being said, if you have any video requests, any ideas of videos you would like to see, be sure to let me know down below, because that is a huge piece of the process, is just thinking of an idea. So I would appreciate any brainstorming that you guys have to help me out. So without further ado, let's get into the video itself. So for those of you who are not familiar with film cameras, the Olympus OM-10 is a 35mm film camera. And so there are 3 main types of film formats: 35mm, which is going to be your smallest, medium format, and large format. And because 35mm film is the smallest, the cameras are a little bit more compact compared to your medium and large format cameras. The OM-10 is also a SLR, or a single lens reflex camera, which means it does work like the kind of diagram that I showed in my manual photography video, but basically what you see through the viewfinder is a reflection of what is shown through the lens. Another thing about the OM-10 is that it is an aperture priority camera. If you are not familiar with photography, aperture priority means that you set the ISO, which in film is pretty easy because it's just set to the box speed of your film that you choose to shoot. You set the aperture on your lens, and then the camera will automatically adjust the shutter speed for you to have the image properly exposed. Now you do have the option to throw on a manual adapter on the OM-10 to make it a fully manual camera. So another thing that I wanted to point out were the main lenses that I have and use for this camera, and that is the 50mm f1.8 and the 28mm f2.8 lenses from Olympus, and that is part of their Zuko line, is I believe what it is called. The next feature is that it is completely manual focus. Again, some film cameras are fully manual and others are fully automatic, but the OM-10 does not have any kind of autofocus features. Next is that it does have a built-in light meter and a few other features that I did want to mention very lightly. There's a battery check feature because it does use batteries, the self timer, as well as the on and off switch. So that's kind of a high level overview of the entire camera, but there are actually a few things that I want to mention and a few of my favorite features which make this camera so incredible to me. If there's one thing to note from this video, it is that the OM-10 is an amazing camera that I recommend for pretty much everyone. So the first feature that I love in this camera is the built-in light meter. If you are new to film and not familiar with the process of shooting film, a huge component of shooting film and fully manual, no electronic viewfinder or anything to help you properly expose a photo, is the fact that with shooting film, you have to determine how to expose a photo. There are 2 ways of doing this. One is with a built-in light meter to help tell you the light coming in, and another is an external light meter, and that's basically going to do the same thing for you, but you're going to have another separate device meter it to whatever you're taking a photo of or the subject so that the light meter can tell you how much light is on it, and then you going back to your camera, adjusting the settings to properly expose based on what the light meter told you. So for me personally, and the way that I shoot, I will always look for a built-in light meter in any film camera that I own. This is super important to me because of the way that an external light meter changes the process of taking a photo with film. So the built-in light meter is everything to me in a film camera, and the OM-10 does have a built-in light meter. The next key feature that I really love is the fact that it's aperture priority. This is actually a perfect thing for me because I shoot in aperture priority mode 95% of the time on my digital camera. The reason being, normally I like just setting an ISO, I like just setting the aperture and then having the camera do the rest, because 99% of the time the shutter speed will be what I want it to be for the image to come out the way I want it to come out. When shooting on film, aperture priority mode actually makes the process even faster because chances are your ISO is already set to the box speed of the film. So literally all you need to change is the aperture on the lens, and if you generally shoot around the same aperture as I do, I normally shoot relatively wide open, especially when I'm shooting some kind of portrait. I want some kind of separation between foreground and background. Everything is so much quicker when the camera can just automatically determine and adjust the shutter speed to what I want it at. This feature would not be as great if it weren't for the fact that the OM-10 also supports fully manual. So most of the time, at least what I have seen so far, the OM-10 comes with the manual adapter, which is just a little piece that you plug into the camera, and it allows you to shoot at fully manual mode. Just the fact that you have the ability to shoot fully manual in situations where you want full control over shutter speed, but then also shoot aperture priority and support that and have that slightly automated camera is such a key feature for me that I really love about that camera. I just think that that's such a big differentiator over a lot of the fully manual SLRs. So the next thing, although not completely related to the camera itself, is just the amazing quality of Olympus vintage glass. And when it comes to shooting film, as much as yes, certain film stocks will really affect the image, you're not dealing with things like megapixels or sensors like crop sensors versus full frame. Most of that image quality is really going to come from how you expose your photo and the glass on the camera and the lens quality. And although, yes, there are tons of great lenses in the vintage lens world, including Minolta and Nikon and whatever else other people love, Olympus glass is amazing. And so this might not be a differentiator, but this is just yet another reason why the OM-10 is such a great camera, because it supports that OM mount and the OM glass. So lastly, for things that I really love about this camera that I want to mention is simply the fact that it's easy to use and it makes you want to carry it around. If it weren't for the fact that film is a little bit inconvenient for me to shoot every single day because I don't have the time or the space to develop my own film, and on top of the fact that the film lab that I do choose, shout out to Indie Film Lab, is quite a distance away from me in terms of me having to mail stuff out to them, that adding a delay, and then of course their turnaround time adding a few extra business days to the whole process. If it weren't for all of that, then the Olympus OM-10 would 100% be my everyday carry, and I probably would never have gotten the X Pro 2. However, all of that aside, the OM-10 is a camera that is a small form factor. It puts out amazing pictures. Once you start getting used to shooting in aperture priority mode, you can get pictures pretty quickly, considering it is a film camera and you're gonna have to be advancing the film every single picture that you take. But aside from all of that, it's the perfect everyday film camera carry. So those are kind of the main reasons why I love the camera. They are huge reasons for me that some of them not other film cameras offer, and I think that's why I really love the OM-10. And as much as I have looked into other film cameras, specifically 35mm film cameras, I've never gotten another one and have always stuck with the OM-10. phone, and those are the main reasons. Before I end off the video, I did want to talk about a few of the features that I'm not the biggest fans of, but I would like to preface this with the fact that this is kind of consistent among many 35mm SLR cameras, so it's not unique to the OM-10. But the first is manual focus. Manual focus, especially when I take a lot of pictures of my dog, is a little rough, but it is no problem when doing landscapes. It's no problem when doing portraits where the model can kind of stand still and let you focus and then you shoot the photo. Things like that, it really isn't too big of a deal. I have still gotten amazing shots of my dog even with manual focus, but that is definitely something to consider if you are someone who really highly relies on autofocus or just loves the snappiness of autofocus in digital cameras. This is probably the key reason why I looked into having the digital everyday carry, but also looking into point and shoots. When it comes to 35mm film, there are just situations where autofocus really does make such a huge difference, and images that I've taken that I 100% never would have gotten if I was shooting only manual focus. So that's something to keep in mind, but chances are if you're looking into a film camera, you already know that. So the second point that I'm going to mention is that there's no shutter lock on it. Many of the cameras that I've seen do not have a shutter lock on it, but the only reason why I am actually mentioning this feature is because I do have a shutter lock on my medium format film camera, which is why I've seen hands-on how helpful it is. So basically this shutter lock is going to be what prevents you from pressing down the shutter and using up an exposure. So there's one main way around this, and that is just simply not advancing to the next exposure after you take a photo. So a lot of people recommend once you take a photo on a film camera, you kind of advance the lever so that when you're ready to take the next photo or if a situation comes up, it's already advanced and you're ready to snap the photo. For me, I don't like doing that because I run the risk of accidentally pressing the shutter button, or if I put it like back in my bag or something, the shutter button gets pressed by something else in the bag, then I've wasted an exposure on top of the fact that I yet again have to advance the lever when I go to take the next photo. So having a shutter lock button would be so much better. I would actually be curious to see if any other 35mm SLR cameras offer that. So that's kind of my overarching little review on the OM-10. Overall, I got the OM-10 because I was very much tied into the Olympus system and I just had a lot of brand loyalty that I wanted to keep at the time of getting it, and honestly I've kept it because it's such an amazing film camera, especially because of the built-in light meter and the aperture priority mode. Those are my two favorite features that make it what it is and unique in my opinion. Definitely recommend looking into the OM-10. If you are already looking into the OM-10 and I'm just yet another video that you're watching in your kind of string of review videos, here's me telling you to go for it. You will not regret it. It's an amazing camera and I honestly don't know who I wouldn't recommend it to. So if that tells you anything about how much I love the camera, there's that. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you also enjoy content like this on film photography and other content on Olympus and Fujifilm gear, be sure to subscribe to my channel. And if you want some more daily, not even daily at this point, but more frequent updates on my life and images that I have been taking, definitely check out my Instagram because I post there much more often than YouTube, as one would expect. And I will see you guys all in my next video.